We begin this session by reviewing the structure of the new standards and the format of the grade level documents. It's important that all of us understand and become comfortable with the terminology of the new standards. The standards and supporting documents can be found on the Arizona Department of Education website. Each grade level set of standards, K through 8, begins with a one-page overview. Next, the introduction provides important contextual information and describes critical areas of focus. Notice the new terminology. Domain, which is a large group of related standards, connects the topics and content between and among grade levels. Clusters, which are smaller sets of related standards within the domain. They identify the primary idea. Standards describe what students should know and be able to do. Here's a helpful graphic of the structure. There's the domain, the overarching important idea. Each domain is divided into clusters of mathematical ideas. The clusters are further divided into related standards. The architecture of each grade level, K through 8, is the same. Each grade level document begins with an overview page which details the organization. The grade level is organized by domains. Domains are larger groups of related standards organized around the same topic and may connect across grade levels. Domains illustrate progression of increasing complexity from grade level to grade level. Domains are most similar to the strands of the 2008 standards. Unlike the strands of the 2008 standards, the only domain that actually extends across K through 12 is geometry. Clusters are smaller groups of related standards, and they may appear in multiple grade levels. Clusters are most similar to concepts in the 2008 standards. Here's the introduction page for the 7th grade standards. Note how the 4 critical ideas for that grade level are listed. Here's the introduction page for the 7th grade standards. Note how 4 critical ideas for that grade level are listed. The new coding for the standards is distinctly different. Please note that the cluster is not included in the coding because the standards are numbered sequentially within a domain, even though there may be several clusters contained within a domain. As we look at the actual standards, we find the domain, in this case the number system, right at the top with the cluster beneath it. As you become familiar with the new standards, you will notice that standards come from different domains and clusters, and they may be closely related. As we look at the actual standards, we find the domain, in this case the number system, at the top with the cluster beneath it. As you become familiar with the new standards, you may notice that standards from different domains and clusters may sometimes be closely related, and that's because mathematics is connected. Standards As we look at the actual standards pages, we find the domain, in this case the number system, at the top with the cluster beneath it. As you become familiar with the new standards, you may notice that standards from different domains and clusters may sometimes be closely related. Well, that's because mathematics is a connected subject. Standards. As we look at the actual pages, we find the domain, in this case the number system, at the top with the cluster beneath it. As you become familiar with the new standards, you might notice that standards from different domains and clusters may sometimes be closely related because mathematics is a connected subject. Standards define what students should know, understand, and be able to do. Standards are most similar to the performance objectives of the 2008 standards. The format of the grade level documents is modeled after the 2008 standards. The far left column has the standards, and the far right column contains the explanations and examples. The explanations and examples is the living part of the document, and it will be revisited, reviewed, and updated in September of each year. This slide also highlights the mathematical practices and connections. Strand 5, Concept 2 performance objectives of the old standards have been replaced with the mathematical practices in the middle column. The mathematical practices listed in the middle column are suggestions. Connections are suggestions for logical or complementary links in other content areas, technology, writing, science, and so forth. This slide shows how K-8 is organized by domains and how high school is organized by conceptual categories and domains. High school standards are aimed at students who have completed K-8 Common Core standards and are now in grades 9 through 11. Notice that they are not listed as separate grades, as are the K-8 standards. The high school standards specify the mathematics that all students should study in order to be college and career ready. Conceptual categories portray a coherent view of high school mathematics. A student's work with fractions, for example, crosses a number of traditional course boundaries, potentially up through and including calculus. Within conceptual categories, the standards form a progression of increasing complexity. They are the big ideas that connect mathematics across high school. The conceptual categories are further delineated by the now familiar domains, clusters, and standards. At the beginning of each conceptual category, the important ideas are listed. And here we can see the conceptual category is right at the top of the page, followed by the domain, cluster, and the standard. This slide is a model of the progression or flow between domains across grade levels, building to algebra in high school. We'd like you to take a few minutes now to complete the treasure hunt activity.